You never know how loyal a dog can be, just because of a promise. The dog has been waiting here for 3 years, whether it's windy or rainy. No matter how high or low the tide goes, he never left. During these 1,000 days of waiting, when it's cold, he leans on the reef. When it rains, it hides on the reef. In front of the thunder and lightning, she huddled in her small body, hiding in the crevices of the rocks. The dog looks out from here every day, watching every ship that passes by, as if waiting for someone. Residents of the island told reporters, this dog has been here for 3 years. 3 years ago, his master was seriously ill. The dog watched over his master. The owner was taken by boat for treatment. He promised to come back for him, and since then, the dog stayed at the harbor and wouldn't leave. Every day he sits quietly on a rock, looking in the direction of his master's departure. Even when his feet were cut on the sharp rocks, the dog won't leave. The dog is afraid that if he leaves, if his master comes back and doesn't see him, and so he waited day after day. Waiting. No one knows how much it suffers waiting like this. Looking at such a loyal dog, neighbors tried to help him. They wanted to take him home to take care of him, but the dog didn't want to. He refused everyone's goodwill. Every day, he insisted on staying here, waiting for its owner, fearing that the dog would go hungry. The villagers bring the dog food every day, in the hope that the dog will suffer less. Because of the loss of the owner's protection, the dogs in the neighborhood treat him as a stray. They often gang up on him, in order to escape. The poor dog can only escape to the dangerous reef, and the cold water lapping at him. The other dogs were scared away by the ferocious water, before he can go back to where he came from, and the long wait begins. In order to help the dog out of the dangerous situation, rescuers decided to help him find his owner and start rescuing him, because the dog is not willing to let people near. The rescue team had to force a roundup, but more than 10 rescuers rounded up, but they couldn't rescue the dog. There was no other way. We had to use a tranquilizer gun. A shot was fired accurately on the dog, but at that moment, the dog ran towards the village. The rescuers followed him until they came to the ruins. Bird anesthetized dog finally could not hold on, collapsed on the ground. The villagers told the rescuers, this is the dog's former home. Looking at the ruins in front of us, the dog house has been covered by weeds. Everyone is in tears. The dog thought his life was about to end. He tried his best. Before he fainted, the dog went back to his master's place. Maybe this was the shelter he longed for, or perhaps he felt that even if he had to die, he wanted to go back to his home, back to the place where he lived with his master. Such a loving and caring dog. He deserves a lot of credit. Afterwards, the dog was taken to the veterinary hospital. After a series of tests, the dog is severely malnourished. He needs to stay in the hospital for a while. However, a month later, rescuers went to the pet hospital to see the dog. The dog had already left the hospital. The doctor told reporters, the dog does not want to stay in the hospital, protested with a hunger strike. They had to let him go. A reporter came to the harbor. I saw the dog again. The reporter couldn't help shedding tears. The dog was convinced that his master would come back. That's why he never gave up waiting. Sometimes animals are more loyal than we think. Sometimes, a bowl of rice is all it takes for them to be loyal. Let's leave a word of cheer for the dog. Let's pray for the dog together. I hope the owner is still alive and come back to pick up the poor dog. Let him have a happy home again.